to Quick Tip Tuesday. I'm Carrie Live, founder of JoyfulDVM, certified life coach veterinarian. And today I want to spend a couple of minutes reminding us about the 90-10 rule in VetMed. So right now, here we are in the world. It is September 2020. We've been dealing with a pandemic 4 months, and many of our veterinary facilities are operating on curbside only without the plans of going back to anything but curbside anytime soon. We like our reasons. I think it's exactly the right thing to do. That's just my opinion. But what's true is we get to decide for ourselves, right? So we've made our decisions as practice owners how it is that we're going to do business day in and day out in our practices. And not everybody loves our choices. There are certainly clients who are very unhappy with the way that we're doing business these days. What I want us to remember is that clients being unhappy with the way that we do things is not unfamiliar territory, is it? We've dealt with clients being angry with the way that we do things and being frustrated with the outcomes of their pets and things like that for years. It is part of what we experience in the veterinary world. This is a perfect time for us to remember the 90-10. 10% of your clients likely make up 90% of our headaches. Why is this important to remember? It's important to remember because if we forget that it's not all the clients that are creating some of the experiences that we're having day in and day out, the negative experiences, then the conclusions that we draw, because we often interact with that same population of clients over and over and over again, the negative clients, if we don't remember that it's not all of our clients and that our experience isn't just limited to that kind of interaction, then it's very easy for us to draw conclusions about how over the top our clients are right now. It's very easy to draw conclusions that lead us to be very frustrated with clients in general. I totally get it, for sure. It's not just happening in VetMed either. It's happening across the spectrum. But what we're missing here is, even though we understand why people are a little bit more geared up, there's still a population of people within your practice, a population of clients within your practice that are still extra on top of that. These are the same clients who caused you 90% of your headaches before the pandemic ever came to be. So what do we do about the 90-10? I don't think there's bad clients. Let me just start there. I don't think that there are bad clients, but I definitely think that there is a mismatch often between the type of client and the service that they want and the type of facility and what we're willing to provide. There is just simply a mismatch between that client and that veterinary practice. It doesn't mean the client is bad. It doesn't mean the practice is bad. It just means that they're not a great fit. It just means that you haven't attracted your ideal client 100% of the time. And of course you haven't. That's just the way that life works. Where this gets us into trouble, though, is when we try to fit the needs of that 10% that's not in alignment with our practice. When we're trying to appease them, we're trying to make them happy, we're trying to give them what they want when it's not in alignment with what we're willing to do. It's not in alignment with the way that we're willing to serve. This was a problem for us before the pandemic, and it's just also heightened again here, where everybody's feeling a little extra, and then you've got the 10% on top of that were already a drain on your emotional energy and your mood and your culture before the pandemic ever hit, and now they're just extra draining on all of that. The problem here is that we never dealt with it before. The opportunity is that we can use this moment in time to deal with it now. Whenever we have a client where we've definitely recognized that our experience over time is that it's just not a good match with our practice, the best thing for both parties is to part ways. Yes, it's the best thing for all of us involved. It's the best thing for you because so much of your emotional resources are being drawn into this 110%, to this small percentage of your clients, which then as effect pulls away from the 90%. And it's also in the best interest of them because they're constantly disappointed with the service that you're providing. Now, don't get me wrong. That does not mean that you're doing anything wrong with your service. All it is a gap between expectation and reality. They expect you to do things one way and you do them a different way. That gap in what they want it to be like and what it is like is going to cause frustration for them. It's also causing frustration for you because the way that you want them to behave and the way that they are behaving, again, there's that gap there. That gap between expectation and reality just fosters frustration, and that over and over and over again actually tends to lead us to behave in ways that we aren't necessarily proud of. I think it's super important that we do remind everybody, hey, let's just stay calm. Let's just extend some patience. Let's just extend some kindness. I think those kinds of messages on our social posts and in any kind of correspondence with our clients is a good idea. But when we take it to that second level where we actually start to shame the clients, where we use passive aggressive language to try to manipulate client behavior, that's when we need to get in check with ourselves. Is the problem really the client, or are we actually, is the problem the client base, the 100%, or actually are we going after the 10% of our least best fit clients in a social platform because we are afraid to just deal with them one-on-one? Like I said, this is the opportunity. That 10% that were not a good match before the pandemic are still not a good match today. This is your opportunity to just identify it for what it is. It's just not a good match. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make you bad. But what it makes is an opportunity for you to each go your separate ways so that they can find a veterinary facility that's in alignment with the way that they want to be served, and you can put your efforts toward the 90% of your clients who are exactly right for what you're trying to do. It's not selfish to do that. It's helpful on both sides, and it is fear that keeps us from doing that. Fear of the backlash of that 10% when you tell them to go on their way. Fear of the bottom line and around money and scarcity and all of our thoughts around that keeps us trying to please this 10% that was never a good match in the first place. This pandemic has just brought this up in spades. So my opportunity for you, my friends, is if you're finding that you are super frustrated with your client base right now, I want you to get some facts in front of you. Figure out exactly which clients are causing you the most headaches. Exactly what are they doing? See if you recognize patterns there. It may very well be that you've got a pattern, a cluster of the 10% that just needs to be separated from your practice. You also might find that the problem isn't actually any particular client group. It's simply your lack of policies and procedures and having things in place for the way that you're going to react in any situation, and that constant changing situation because you're always figuring it out on the fly and there isn't any consistency across your hospital. That's actually increasing your stress as well. If you want to hear me talk more about this, jump into the podcast, the Joyful DVM podcast, episode 19. It's just at joyfuldvm.com/19, and I share even more thoughts on this subject. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time.